I mean, there was a couple of schools that I was in between, but the reason that IU stood out, and it stood out way above the rest, was the number one factor was the development. The development that Coach Signetti brings, that Coach Shanahan brings, and Coach Whitmer brings. All three have worked with phenomenal quarterbacks in the past. Coach Signetti, 4 out of the 5 past quarterbacks he's had have all been conference players of the year. The only one that wasn't was Curtis Rourke, but I mean, that guy's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's great. Coach Shanahan, amazing offensive mind, and then Coach Whitmer coming from an NFL background to help me develop into my goal into an NFL quarterback one day.
So that was the decision, the staff and the approach.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a complex decision. There was a lot of different other things, such as family. Like my little brother is here. To be able to play with my brother for 1 or 2 years would be a phenomenal experience, and I'd be able to live with each other and easier for our family.
I assume you get along if you're living together.
Yeah, my brother and I get along. We push each other though. We push each other. Like when I first came, it was although I'm coming, like we're still going to compete.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about Alberto, and he's going to be a hell of a quarterback one day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of other things, but the biggest thing was the development and taking, I want to say taking a chance, but like, in a sense, taking a chance from leaving Cal on myself in order to chase that development, per se.
Welcome back to The Player's Perspective, a podcast hosted by Mackenzie Holmes and powered by Hoosiers Connect. As the official NIL collective of IU Athletics, Hoosiers Connect provides exclusive access to IU student athletes, offering fans an inside look at their lives both in and out of competition. Tune in weekly to hear stories and perspectives from the incredible athletes that make Hoosier Nation proud.
Fernando, thanks for joining the podcast here for Hoosiers Connect. Glad to have you here in Bloomington.
Well, thank you, Mr. Youngman. I really do appreciate you guys having me on and excited to be a part of the
just call me Pete, please.
All right. Well, really excited, Pete, to be a part of the Bloomington community and be on the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Well, I think a lot of people have heard about you. They know what they've seen on highlights, but they want to get to know you. So give us your story. Give us your quick overview. Give us your bio.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I just want to say I'm extremely grateful that the entire Bloomington community has been super welcoming and just opened their arms up to me. So, I mean, it's been a great experience so far. But my story is, myself, my brother, Alberto Mendoza, we're from Miami, Florida. And through there is a big football hotbed. And through there, I only had 2 offers out of high school. The first one was Yale University, which is a very prestigious school, but more for academics. And I was honored. But
were you a football kid growing up? Like from the time you were walking, were you a football kid or did you do other sports?
I would say I was a football kid. I was a football kid. I did other sports. My parents had me in some other sports. They had me in some tennis, some basketball.
Yeah.
But on our basketball team, the Boozer brothers were also on our team.
Oh.
So I didn't get to play much. Yeah. We were both power forwards. So I mean, that guy was obviously a lot better than myself at basketball. So out of high school.
Wow. Before we go there,
sorry.
So, like when you were a freshman, did you play? Okay. Were you like sort of like a football thing when you were young? Were you
we're going deep in here.
Back,
okay, so way back. Wow, yeah, way back. So I played Little League football growing up, tackle. I started around 5th grade. I played my middle school football, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th at a all-boys Jesuit preparatory school that ran the wing T.
Okay.
And the big thing with the wing T is they only throw the ball twice, maybe 3 times.
Were you the quarterback then, too?
4 times. Yes, I was a quarterback. Luckily, throughout the entire game. But when I was playing, most of those years I was there, probably the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I was always the backup quarterback.
Interesting.
I was always a backup quarterback, so I would always be getting a lot of throwing reps on the scout teams, but I would always be very prepared because I was never the most physically talented kid. I was never really tall. I didn't have a growth spurt until later on in my high school career, and I wasn't very strong at that point in my career as well.
Okay.
So that
So you had high school, then what happens?
Yeah, so high school. Then I transferred to another high school, which is more of a powerhouse, Christopher Columbus High School, which has a ton of great players that go throughout, and there's a little bit more of a pro-style offense.
Yeah.
And then we had a pretty good career there. Was 2 state titles.
Were you the quarterback?
Quarterback, yes.
When you came in 10th grade, did you start?
Split time.
Split time.
We played Jalen Carter in the state championship. I was holding the ball, and he completely fell on top of me and also sacked me, so that was not pretty. Obviously, he was a hell of a player.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened when we won during COVID. Senior year, we lost in the state semifinals. I thought it was a pretty good high school career. I was satisfied at that moment. And coming out, the only committable offer I had was Yale.
Okay.
Yale University, like I said, great academic institution. However, not what I was really looking for in football. And my intuition and my mom was like, you're going to get a big offer. Just wait, just wait, just wait. And at this point, I already signed a fake paper on early.
The video where you did the hat.
Yeah, the hats. I was like, oh, I only had one hat on the table. I was like, yeah, let's sign it. It sounded like a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, all right, I guess I'll just wait till late signing day to see what happens. All of a sudden, Cal comes out of nowhere. And
did you have a connection to Cal, or just literally out of nowhere?
Like pretty much out of nowhere. Like one of the quarterback coaches that I work with in my high school times, Coach David Lee, who's an NFL guy, had an NFL connection, and it was very mutual, and it was very out there. It was like very, very. It wasn't like a strong connection. Right. It was kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the Cal coach came to see me to throw, did a little IQ on the board. And after that, he was like, all right, you got an offer. And I was like, wow, I just kind of jumped from FCS football to like no scholarship to scholarship FBS, Power 4 now, I guess. Yeah. So I was like, this is great. And so I literally just committed on the spot. So,
and then you redshirted that first year, is that right?
I redshirted that first year. That first year with a quarterback named Jack Plummer, who was a Louisville quarterback for his final year, and now he's a third string on the Panthers.
Yeah.
So,
and how was that experience? Is it tough to redshirt? So you're going from high school where you're the guy, and now all of a sudden you're redshirting and backing up.
Yeah, I mean, as a competitor, you always want to be on the field, but at a certain point, as a true freshman quarterback, you understand that the game is 10 times faster.
Did you notice that when you went from high school to college? Everybody says that. Is it really that much faster?
I will say, coming from Miami which has so much speed. I mean, you see all the speedsters out of there.
Right.
Like Calvin Ridley, I mean, like Jeremiah Smith, like they're all like there.
So you experienced speed before.
Yeah. So it was an increase. It wasn't as huge of a jump as everyone says, but it was more the physicality.
Okay.
That it was crazy. Everybody was
grown men.
And I was still a little bit of like a high school kid.
Okay.
So that freshman year, I knew I wasn't ready to play, but I was like, this is my developmental year. I'm going to do everything possible to develop, like extra lifts, because I didn't really need to work on like throwing or worry about throwing the day of the game, because I was a signal caller.
Yeah.
I was actually the fake signal caller.
Oh,
so
you weren't even the real.
I wasn't the real signal caller. I was just making up, I was just doing random hand signs. But yeah, so that year I really took to develop. And then the next year I was in a quarterback competition between 3 quarterbacks.
Wow.
And it was slated. Obviously, I was very confident in myself, but at the end, I was a little disappointed. I was slated as a third-string quarterback out of that competition. The year goes on. We're not having too good of a year, and I ended up getting a chance against my first team. That's when Oregon State was in the Pac-12. So this is the last year of the Pac-12. They were like 17th in the nation. Oregon State, my first game. I played, had a good game, finished out that season. We went 6-6, which for Cal was really, really good at the time. It was the first bowl game we've made in 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
And so
we understand that.
Yeah. so I mean, it wasn't as dramatic as the IU rise of success, but it was definitely something over there. And so it was a great experience. And then this past year had another quarterback competition, dueled it out, won. We also ended 6-6 this year, which was a little disappointing because we had a lot of close games. Like, for example, Miami on College Game Day, we had lost by 1 point, and a couple other games. But there's a lot of good experience and good situational experiences that I learned from that I'm able to take more of expertise here to the Hoosiers. But those 2 years that I did play at Cal were great, and they were both bowl berths for them.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things when I first heard your name, and you just Google your name, and one of the first things I saw was your post-game interview after Stanford, which I thought was terrific. I loved it because I looked at it and I was like, man, here's a kid that loves to play football. Yeah. Right? Like you put your whole heart into it and you put your whole self into it. I thought it was terrific. Did you get a lot of reaction from that?
Yeah, so a big thing that I took for this season was there's so many highs and lows of the season, especially as if you win games, there's not a game or play that you wanted it to go the way you wanted to kind of eliminate the variety of emotions that you could have. So I actually deleted the social media during it. But that one interview was the point that I had to hop on social media just to kind of see the reactions. Yeah. And they were some of them were positive and some of them were negative. And that's stuff that you get. But I think that moment displayed, I really do, although I did leave Cal, I do love all my guys at Cal.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And it was good. And it's really
I thought about it from the perspective of, you don't get to play football very long in your life. and especially not against a rival in a big game like that,
Yeah.
right? Like you should put it all out there and like let it be. I thought it was terrific, so I'm excited to see you bring that emotion and excitement to IU. As well.
Oh, for sure. It's all about playing to the brother next to you. If you deeply care about the brother that you're playing with, that you're taking and sacrificing for, and maybe lowering your shoulder, getting a little injured for that extra first down, for the momentum, then they're going to care about you.
Well, and I don't think I'm sure some people do, but not everybody realizes the amount of work that you guys put in all year long. Right here we are in late January, and you're already putting in work for the next season, and you guys are in this together the whole time. Yeah. It's not just those days on Sunday or Saturday. It's a long time.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is a long time, and it all accumulates to that, and that was kind of the high point of the season. So it was special to see all that stuff work out in a rivalry comeback. So.
Yeah, let's talk about your decision to come here.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a tough decision, right? There's lots of people wanting you to come play for them, and what was it about IU that said, I feel good here?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of factors that play into my decision, and a big thing. I mean, there was a couple of schools that I was in between, but the reason that IU stood out, and it stood out way above the rest, was the number one factor was the development. The development that Coach Cignetti brings, that Coach Shanahan brings, and Coach Whitmer brings. All three have worked with phenomenal quarterbacks in the past. Coach Cignetti, 4 out of the 5 past quarterbacks he's had have all been conference players of the year. The only one that wasn't was Curtis Rourke, but I mean, that guy's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's great. Coach Shanahan, amazing offensive mind, and then Coach Whitmer coming from an NFL background to help me develop into my goal into an NFL quarterback one day.
So that was the decision, the staff and the approach.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a complex decision. There was a lot of different other things, such as family. Like my little brother is here. To be able to play with my brother for 1 or 2 years would be a phenomenal experience, and I'd be able to live with each other and easier for our family.
I assume you get along if you're living together.
Yeah, my brother and I get along. We push each other though. We push each other. Like when I first came, it was although I'm coming, like we're still going to compete.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about Alberto, and he's going to be a hell of a quarterback one day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there's a lot of other things, but the biggest thing was the development and taking, I want to say taking a chance, but like in a sense, taking a chance from leaving Cal on myself in order to chase that development per se.
So one thing I've heard is that, here's a kid who grew up in the South, played in California, never played in the cold. It's cold here today when we're playing, right? It's been down to 0. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I've actually played in a couple cold games before. Being in the Pac-12, we played at Oregon, at Washington, at Oregon State. But even the other day here, although we have an amazing indoor, that's great. And some of the receivers and we will all get together, throw some spot catching routes. The other day, I threw out in the middle of the field of the stadium with Alberto, and it was cold. I mean, it was like 14 degrees or something like that. And I mean, I thought I threw it pretty well, and it wasn't a big deviation from what I usually throw, and I felt good. And there's hand warmers and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it is very cold. But for myself, it's a little bit more of a mental thing.
Yeah,
like I believe that I can play in any weather.
Yeah, I think it is part of that. But hopefully we'll get to play some colder games. That means you're playing later in the year.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What we want to do.
That's the goal too. So
All right, let's talk about you're coming to a team. Have you had enough time yet to understand is this offensive system that you run in Cal different than what you're going to be running here?
Yeah. Yeah, it is different, and that's the main reason. That's one of the reasons that I came here. A big reason with Indiana offensive system is its variety and how multiple it is, and what great detail the offense is, and how it develops people for the next level. It developed Curtis Rourke in that 1 year, amazing for the next level. I believe it's going to do the same for myself. And like I said, the expertise that Coach Sig, Coach Shanahan, and Coach Whitmer bring with the offense, and it's not only the offense, because at the end of the day, everybody runs 4 verticals.
Yeah.
But it's the detail and the way of coaching and the style of coaching, which was so attractive. And the playbook, I mean, all the best NFL teams, they don't just run one thing. They run a variety and have a real agenda and binder of plays.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing that I saw here with the offense that was very enticing, along with the offensive roster that we also have coming back this year.
Yeah, you get some firepower in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was that was another thing when I was kind of ranking the schools. Out of all the schools I was considering, Indiana was number 1 in that department. I mean, Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper. I mean, you just have so many good guys. I could just go on about all the transfers and all the guys coming back and all the offensive firepower that we'll have. Along with the O-line, we have a ton of guys coming back, so it's a good crew.
Yeah, it's looking good. So you come to a new school, you're getting to know your receivers, you're just trying to get to know people, I assume, at first.
Yeah.
But then how do you develop a timing with, like a lot of these plays today are all about timing. So how do you develop that sense of, within a short period of time, how do you develop that rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, timing and anticipation is a fundamental part of playing quarterback. That's what separates the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks to the all-time greats, is anticipation, the timing, and the touch that they're able to play with. And so in college, I mean, if you don't throw the route before the receiver breaks, at that point it's probably, it's likely it's not going to be completed. It's going to be a pass deflection, or it's going to be something in that nature. So to be able to understand and get the timing with, Elijah, Omar, all the guys is fundamental. That's something that I think we're going to be able to get it by spring, and that's what the game reps in spring. That's why spring ball was so important.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your style as a quarterback, right? Are you comfortable in the pocket? Do you like to run? I've seen you do both. What's your preference?
Yeah, so my style, I'm a passer. I like to pass the ball. I can run. There's been some, highlights last year that, I've been able to get out of the side of the pocket and situationally run. And I do pride myself in being a faster guy, or I like to think myself a faster guy. Maybe that's just self-confidence. But
we'll see what the receivers say about that. They always have a competition, so who's faster, so we'll see.
No, those receivers are definitely faster than me. I'm not going to lie about that. But passing is my strength. Like in the pocket, I'm fine taking a hit, getting my mouthpiece,
Yeah.
Getting roughed up in the pocket and taking a hit. My big thing is passing the ball. That's how you win big time games. And if I need to be gritty and run for the first down, I will, and I'll put my body on the line. But a big thing is, my biggest thing is passing.
Yeah. So if that's the case, you walk up, you're in the huddle. It's I don't know what you call a play. It's a slant. And what are you thinking when you get up to the line? What are you doing? Are you assessing the defense first? Are you thinking about your routes? How do you approach that at the moment when you're getting ready to hike the ball?
Yeah, that's a great question. And everybody has a different pre-snap process, but what I believe is extremely important is when you get the play in your headset, is you're able to, instead of looking down at the wristband, you're looking at your guys and instilling confidence in that play. I believe that's
okay. So that moment, you think there's leadership in the huddle. You think that's
for sure. There's leadership in the huddle. There's leadership with the O lineman. You know what I mean? Whether it's Bray or Carter, getting everybody in the huddle, getting set, or them giving it a little nudge, hey, this is our play.
Yeah.
Guess we're gonna get this.
So you're getting it from the coaches in your head. You're already trying to think about who do I need to get mentally prepared for this.
Yes, and it's always a big thing of in the playbook. There's a lot of the play calls are usually a little bit longer, and each segment has different responsibilities for different people. So I'll give the O-line a call. I'll be like, blank, blank, blank. And then I'll be like, the receiver, blank, blank, blank. And it'll all come out in one sentence, but I'll be able to actually look at the different personnel that actual part of the play call corresponds to.
Okay.
So I'm not, let's say your assignment's running a post. I'm not going to be like, let's say this, Pete post over here. I'll be like, all right, let's go.
Okay.
Pete post.
Gotcha.
Let's go. Kind of look at you per sort of sense. I'll get up to the line of scrimmage. I already have, my footwork, my progression, and the protection in my head already ready to go. I'll be able to scan the defense low to high, starting with the defensive linemen, starting with the front, going all the way up to the safeties and the corners, because those are the guys that will be able to give you great tells about the defense. See, hey, am I hot off anybody? Meaning that, do we have everybody blocked, that possible blitzer that can block? Yeah. Or if there's a possible blitzer that we can't block, how can I replace that guy? Can I check a little hot route right over him?
And this is all going through your head before the snap.
Yes, and that's why the coaching is so important.
Yeah.
Coaching is so important because those are the guys that prepare you. And those are the guys that you rep it through spring ball and rep it through, fall ball and rep it through the entire offseason. So when all the situations appear and come up in the game, it's second nature. And you're able to play loose, free and also confident.
Yeah. Defenses are getting more complicated, I would say, over the years.
Yeah.
Do you expect to see a different type of defense in the Big Ten?
Yeah, for sure. The Big Ten is a lot more, I would say, it's more of a trenches game than it is in the ACC. And so I think that's something that, I enjoy, but I also bring light to as far as I have extreme confidence in myself that I can throw against any man coverage. And that's something that happens a little bit more in the Big Ten as far as stacking the box. And that's something I'm very confident in. I know we have the firepower outside to do it, but I also know that we have extreme firepower inside the box, whether it's a running back room or offensive line room. to be able to be successful in the trenches as well, and as we were last year.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that, and it is different defenses. There's a little bit more brackets and things like that, but that's something that we get prepared before the week, scouting each team. But
have you watched film of any of those Big Ten teams yet?
I mean, but my main focus right now has been really just learning the playbook. Yeah. But I will say I have watched Big Ten teams in the past, as far as watching them on the game, like Ohio State, like for example, the national championship, or when Penn State in the college football playoff, or.
You seem like a guy who studies a lot. Are you a film junkie, or how do you get that? How do you get that feel for the plays and the defense and all that?
Yeah, I would say preparation is key. Preparation is key, and that's how you feel confident, is by preparing. And if you have prepared, that's just setting yourself up for success. And I always try to do the week of, even in the offseason, try to do the most preparation that I could possibly do in order to feel confident about the season. Feel confident about week 1, week 2, all the way on to the college football playoff. As I know that, I'm prepared for this moment, rather than the doubt that happens in your mind. And at that point, you're not going to be successful. Yeah. So a big thing about football is being ready for the situations and be able to be relaxed, confident, be like, hey, I prepared, my teams have prepared, my coaches have prepared, and we're ready to do this thing.
So that's a really good point I want to ask you about. So, let's start here. Give me your first impressions of Bloomington. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to be here for a while.
No, for sure.
And you got a lot of work to do here. So how do you feel about it so far?
Yeah, like you said, I'm going to do a lot of work here. And first impression is a community. The community is so tight-knit. And the past 2 cities I've lived in is Miami and Berkeley, which is Berkeley's a little bit part of like San Francisco area-ish. And those have both been really, really big cities.
Yeah.
And the thing with big cities is that sometimes those teams, whether it's University of Miami or University of California, Berkeley, they're great, but they're not the spotlight of the city. They're not the spotlight of that region. And so they can kind of be sometimes, all they have, they'll have some great exposure because of a big market. They'll be lost in the spotlight there. And so that's what's so important coming in Bloomington, to see how everybody connects with the community so much, and how everybody brings up IU athletics, brings up the university as a whole. And so that's extremely special to me, that's one of my main values, is community and family. Yeah. To have that, see that support from the IU, whether it's basketball, football, whatever other sport it is, or even if it's just the university and academically.
I noticed really I was kind of stalking you on social media a little bit just to see what you're interested in. But one of the things I noticed and was impressed with was your involvement in some charity work. Yeah. We want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I love charity work, and I would say that I believe that's a big part of it, is giving back. And so, for those who don't know, my mom, who's my best friend, inspiration, she has multiple sclerosis, which essentially it's a nervous system disease, which essentially kind of paralyzes the body a little bit. And so, at this point, she's a tough time, moving around and stuff like that. But her happiness, her joy, and her determination is what inspires me every single day, and that's what pushes me. Is if I'm in a workout, I'm feeling tired, and a little thought in my mind is like, oh, maybe you should just skip out on this set or something like that. I'd be like, my mom is out here every single day putting a ton of work, a ton of dedication, and still with a great attitude, and a great positive attitude in everything that she does. So this past year, I was able to partner with a burrito shop in Berkeley, and it was pretty funny because it was like just a cool. I know Kelly's a great business school here. It was kind of a little bit of like a business deal per se that we kind of walked in, cold pitched it, and they agreed. And I'm forever grateful. And we created this thing called the Mendoza Burrito, which all the proceeds go to the National MS Society.
Yeah, that was terrific.
And he raised a good amount. So
I love that because I saw that. And I always, one of the foundations of our collective and work on NIL is always trying to figure out how we involve the community effort in it, because the spotlight is so big on you and other players that sometimes that spotlight doesn't get shown on the charitable works or the other people that are doing great work. And so when you combine them both, it's really powerful. So I was impressed to see that, and hope you'll continue that here in Bloomington.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely look forward to continue that. So really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap here in a second, but I want to know, what is your day-to-day like? Tell me, you're doing a lot of prep. What is an 8-hour, 12-hour day look for you? Yeah,
so right now in Bloomington, I couldn't give you what the season looks like now in Bloomington or what spring ball looks like, but winter workouts, what I would say they look like is wake up around 8 a.m.-ish, just because there's different workout groups, and the group that I'm in, offensive skill, lifts a little later. And so wake up around 8, head of the facility, eat breakfast with some of my teammates, ending up, usually we have a meeting beforehand, like an installation meeting with the playbook. And so one of the assistant coaches will go over some of the plays, and we'll be able to rep that, review the signals. We'll work out, and that workout will usually end around 12. Usually I will head to class from
every now and then.
Well, there's some days I don't have class. And there's some days I do have more class than others, just by the schedule, Yeah. But I'll go to class. I'll get back from class around, let's say 2, and then from 2 to 6, I'll usually just be up in the offensive quarterback room, learning the playbook, learning the signals, something football related.
Yeah.
And then at 6, I'll usually go get dinner, head home, and at home, kind of settle in, do anything I need around the house. I mean, I had to build the bed the other night, so it's still a little bit of moving in.
Yeah.
And after that, before I go to sleep, I have these flashcards of all the plays, and I have a whiteboard, and I'll write and I'll draw up the plays and do the signals to kind of a little bit of
round out the day.
Yeah, round out the day.
What do you do when you're not playing football or going to school? What do you like to do?
Oh, wow. I will say, like you said, the community. I like being in the community, whether it's a community of my friends or a community of whatever it is. I like being around people, like interacting with people. And when I'm not doing football, I mean, I like to be outdoors. I like to be outdoors, whether it's playing a new sport, whether it's like golf, pickleball, or whether it's hunting or fishing, whatever it is. I like to be outdoors. I like to be active.
Yeah.
And that's what brings joy to myself.
Great. So, final question. Greatest quarterback of all time?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. No,
Tom
not
Brady.
even close.
No, not even close. Although I'm from Miami, I was born in Boston. I lived there for about like 5 months for my dad's college up there. And a big thing is always Tom Brady. I've always kind of rode that being born in Boston.
Well, when you were coming up, he was the man. Although I suppose, right?
Yeah. He was a man. My first game I ever watched was the Super Bowls. He was playing against the Giants. Although he didn't win, it just showed his greatness. And although I'm from Miami, the Dolphins at that point, they were a little bit struggling. And I was like, oh, Tom Brady, this is the man. I want to be a quarterback one day. I want to be that guy on the field. And everything throughout his on-field work, his off-field work now with a lot of the podcasts and television broadcasts that he does are all things that I look up to and things that I try to emulate. And I really respect him a lot.
Well, it's great to have you here in Bloomington. We're looking forward to the season. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what you got.
Thank you so much. Go Hoosiers.
We hope you loved this episode of Players Perspective. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Stay connected with Hoosiers Connect on social media for even more exciting content featuring IU student athletes. Until next time, Hoosier Nation.